I want to be elected because I'm standing on my own merit.
Today, our guest is a leader in education, a voice for community, and a woman driven by faith and service. Kelly Binks, an educator who has spent decades shaping the future of students.
I'm an educator, and I've been an educator for my whole career. That's what I set out to be.
Her journey started in the classroom, helping students discover their potential.
I'm most proud of is my first year of being an intern teacher and making sure that every student in my class, the 11 English speakers and the others that didn't speak English, left my classroom reading. I'm Cali Binks, and I'm running for San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. Please visit my website at califorcountyschools.com. I'm Cali Binks, and I approve this message.
Well, welcome to the Chris Markarian podcast. Today's guest is dear and near to my heart. This is Cali Binks, the superintendent of the Yucaipa-Calimesa Joint Unified School District, and she is here to tell us about herself and what God has planned for her next. So please help me welcome Cali Binks. Cali, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and as always, I enjoy talking with you.
I love it. I appreciate you being here. We get to run into each other every Tuesday.
We do. We are Rotarians together.
That's right. That's right. We're part of the Yucaipa Rotary Club, and you and I have a ritual that we do at every Christmas parade. When you help me line up the 110 participants of the Christmas parade, we have a great time with it. I love serving by your side and seeing the giant you are in our community and hiding in your shadow when you're digging for trees, when you're doing the cleanups at the community center, and all the great things that I see around the community, whether it's CERT and how you brought CERT to the community. So I'm super excited about highlighting you today. Why don't you start by telling our audience who Cali Binks is?
All right. I would love to do that. Thank you so much. I'm an educator, and I've been an educator for my whole career. That's what I set out to be. But before that, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. So I am the youngest of 4 children, and I have 2 wonderful sisters that are still with me, but my brother, who was right before me, he was born premature. And so my parents had to move us to Missouri. I wasn't born yet, but my brother had extensive needs. He was severely handicapped, which is the language that we used in that day, and they were very concerned about his well-being. So we moved to Missouri. My dad was a state trooper watching for tornadoes and things. That was his role, while my mom was seeking medical care. I was born 18 months later, and my parents realized that the health care there in Missouri was not what they thought it was going to be, and they were very, very lonesome for our family. So I was born, and they were naming me, and they named me Cali after California. So Cali is how I got my name. It's not California. It's not the
awesome.
whole piece.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
That's pretty
so
cool.
Before there were Cali Barbies and other Calis that I now run into, which is so fun for me in our school district. I think I might have been the original Cali that I know of. So we moved back here, and my brother had a wonderful life. We had him at home for a very long time. But I share that because it's really shaped me, who I am. It shaped our whole family. We volunteered in hospitals. We worked with children of special needs from the time I could crawl and toddle around. We were always volunteering with the hospitals, Anaheim Memorial, the state hospital down in Orange County. And that taught us about public service and how to be grateful about the things that we do have. And my brother since passed away, but lived a joyful life. When kids would come over to visit my house when I was young, my brother looked different. And it was a time in my life where I realized that people didn't have an understanding like I had an understanding of what a special needs person looks like, sounds like, what the differences were. And so it gave my family a lot of opportunities to teach compassion and to teach people how you respond to somebody that's different than you. And I was a little embarrassed in the beginning because I was young, but as I grew up, I was able to then provide a voice for our students with special needs. So when I became a teacher, went to UC Riverside and then worked in Fontana Unified. I did teach general ed, but then I went into special education and was able to work with our extensive needs kids.
That's incredible. I've always known you had a big heart. I didn't know the reason why God chose you to be born into this family and grow up with this brother. How old was your brother when he passed?
27.
Wow. And you had to watch that all the way through 27 years. And I think that is one of the gifts that God has given you. And you know that. You're a woman of faith. Tell us about your faith.
Well, I am a woman of faith, and I feel like, there are all kinds of opportunities that come into your life, but you have to look at them as opportunities. And so for me, as I serve in roles, I know that God, when I'm listening to him and I'm placed in a role, that's the role that I'm going to be able to do the most good in, and to be able to, in fact, I would say when I was starting in Fontana Unified and I was there for 23 years, I never thought I would leave, but there were circumstances that I came about in, and I was praying about it and realized God's moving me, and I didn't know to where, but it was to Yucaipa Mesa School District, where I've been able to serve for the past 13 years. And I think that he has always provided opportunities for me where I can do the work that is helping people and helping children, especially in being an educator, and serving the community, like you talked about with the Christmas parades and the things that we do to just to add value to our community.
Incredible. Cali, I loved you before. I love you even more now. I don't know if that's possible, but seeing you being as humble as you are, you're a definition of a servant leader. And you are involved in many things besides you being the top person in our school district. Name the organizations that you are a part of, and name some of the organizations that you helped start. I know you started a couple of organizations to help and give back.
Well, I've been a Kiwanian, and now I've been a Rotarian for longer than I was a Kiwanian, but I have to give them a shout out too, because it's a great organization. I have different opportunities to serve in different capacities, but community-based. I started Family Promise, which we now call Seeds of Hope. We decided to branch out from being underneath the umbrella organization, which is national, for Family Promise. So Seeds of Hope is now just a local organization where we are helping families that could be on the verge of experiencing homelessness or are experiencing homelessness. And really, the reason why we joined the Family Promise model to begin with was because it's based on keeping kids in school. And so when students have to move often, it's really hard for them to make connections, to feel a part of a group, to keep their grades up. The continuity of being in the same place is really powerful for students. And so with Family Promise, now Seeds of Hope, we wanted to make sure that we could keep our kids in our district, take care of them, and make sure they would have a home and a place to thrive and get their education and keep that continuity for them so that they didn't have to move every time that they were displaced.
So you and I first ran into each other when I met you through CERT. I think
Yes.
CERT was before Rotary, and that was over almost 10 years ago now. You started CERT for our school district. Tell us about why you did that.
So CERT is an opportunity for us to collaborate with our law enforcement and fire partners and the members of our community to provide services when there is an emergency. It is community emergency response training. And I felt like when I moved to Yucaipa, the need for that was all around us, because you think of the 10 corridor being the main way that people move to and from. And I was thinking about the responsibility that we have with our children in our schools, and what would we do if there was some kind of disaster that occurred, or an earthquake or something, where the 10 corridor wasn't functioning anymore. We would be in charge of taking care of our kids, and if there were things that occurred where kids needed help or there were injuries, we need to be trained. And so I was able to talk to the then city manager, Ray Casey, who had talked about CERT. And I said, we're going to be a CERT district. We are going to take this on. And for management, it's a requirement. For our employees, it's optional. But I'm really proud to say that we've had many of our employees go through the program. And now we're sharing it with our ministerial association so that they can be trained as well. And also that way, we're all not taxing our emergency services in our communities. We let them do their jobs, and we can take on the pieces that we're now prepared for. So it's been a great partnership. Safe Schools is a huge thing for me, and every investment we can make in making sure that we're prepared is incredibly important.
I love it. So we talked about your background, your faith, your community service, and your heart for safe schools through CERT. Let's get into your expertise, which is education. Tell us about the last few decades of your life and education, what you've seen and what you've been able to accomplish, and then we're going to get into where you're going and what you want to do in the future.
So being able to join education before I was even ready, which I would say I hadn't finished my degree, it tells you about education is always in need of people. We need people to become teachers. We need people to go in and be our librarians and work in our cafeterias and be our paraprofessionals to support our teachers in the classroom. I mean, it's always an evolving kind of profession because it's changed a lot since I started. But starting in 1990, as that intern, I had the opportunity to grow into those different positions teaching. I want to talk a little bit, if I may, just about my first year as a teacher.
Absolutely.
So starting in Fontana Unified, I started right before school starts, and that's when school started in September. So there was a holiday Monday, and I got hired on the Friday before. And I went to my classroom, and they let me in on the weekend, and I had 2 painters there. And the 2 painters said, "Oh, is this your classroom?" And I said, "Yep, room number 5. I'm in room 5." And they said, "We've been in this district for a long time. Welcome." And the reason why I share that story is because later when I give you some information about becoming a superintendent, I want to tell you about these 2 painters. But I had a group of teachers that were there that came in on the weekend to help me set up my classroom, which I really didn't even know how to do at that time. They came in, they wrapped their arms around me, and that's what education is all about. We have hearts for one another because the work that educators do is hard. People might think that it looks easy and that because the school day is not as long as a regular 8-hour workday, you're always on. You're always on working with kids. And so I want to share just how important it is to acknowledge what teachers do every day and what our whole teams do to run schools. They're like little cities. And so that's just a little thumbnail sketch of what it's like to be a brand new teacher and to come in and then have that group wrap around you.
I love it. Well, I'm from the Middle East. And we come from a culture where corporal punishment was still allowed in the classroom. So when you got beat up by your teacher, you went home crying to your mom and dad. They beat you up too because we trusted our teachers so much. They were like our parents because we spent as much time with them as we did at home. If you're 8 hours at school and 8 hours sleep, you only spend 8 hours at home. And if you're spending 4 hours with your friends back home when you were playing, you spend almost more time with your teachers than you did with your parents. So we come from a culture where teachers are really high up on the pedestal. Now, obviously, when we come to America, we have good teachers and we have bad teachers. And I hear that you've been tough on the teachers. That one of the comments you've made, and I love, is, I think I remember, if I can quote you, is, "You water the flowers, but you pull out the weeds." So I remember that from you because you're tough. You're nice and you look very nice and you have a kind heart. But when you have to be tough, you've made some tough calls.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, as someone who's the boss of all the bosses of the teachers, and as superintendent, as someone that all the principals answer to, what are some of the tough calls that you've made that have made it really hard for you to do this, but you had to do it?
I think when people go into the profession, if they haven't spent the time to understand what the profession really is, you might have people that get in over their head. And so when they get in over their head, what do? Well, we do what people did for me. They wrap around you, and we provide those supports to help them learn, whether it's classroom management or how to deliver a different kind of math lesson, how to be more effective when you're giving your instructional practices. But when somebody that joins us can't do the job and they can't learn from those who are mentoring and helping, and maybe it's just not a fit, it's imperative that we make a change for them. And sometimes that looks like counseling. What can I do to help you? Where would you like to be? What is your goal? What do you enjoy about teaching? What are you not enjoying about teaching? Is this the right fit for you? Sometimes it's something that is about judgment. And how do you fix judgment? Well, you can talk about judgment and you can talk about what people need to know to work with children. But the bottom line is if you don't have the abilities, you don't have the mindset, you don't have the judgment to use in the classroom, then you should not be a part of the community. And so we move people along, and we do it in a way, there's a probationary period, so nobody should be surprised. The people that are surprised, that means we haven't done our job, because they should know from get-go how they're doing and how they're performing. Now, there are times that we're surprised by someone that maybe makes a bad call on something they've done, or they do something that is just not right for kids. And we can't have that. We can't tolerate that. So we need to make sure our kids are always being taught well, treated well, and they learn.
Now, I remember in recent months, there has been a calling for you to step up. It's like you haven't done enough. God has a bigger plan for you. And now you're stepping up into a bigger role. And you're fighting for this role because you believe in something. Tell us about this upcoming position for Cali Binks.
Well, there is a county superintendent role, and that is an elected role. So there are 33 districts in San Bernardino County, and there are different roles for each superintendent based on the community. We serve our communities as superintendents. And so I've been a district superintendent in Fontana Unified and now in Yucaipa-Calimesa. So 17 years of being a superintendent and having the opportunities to serve both communities. And there is a county superintendent, and that is the elected position. And that currently is Mr. Ted Alejandre. Before that, it was Dr. Gary Thomas, and before that, it was Dr. Herb Fisher. And I've had the opportunity to serve as an employee in the county in a district, a superintendent under them. And this role, Superintendent Alejandre has served 3 terms, and he has decided to retire. So with that, he's been very, very supportive and endorsed the idea of me running for county superintendent for San Bernardino.
I love it. So this is a first election, right? Or did you have to run for election for a district superintendent?
I did not have to run for election. The only thing I've ever ran for was PTA president one time. And this is all very new to me. And it is a great opportunity to do work across the county that's good for kids.
That's beautiful. And when we say Cali Binks in our school district and the neighboring district, we don't think of a politician. There are some politics at the level that you've reached and the success that you've acquired, and making sure that the decisions being made under your supervision are going to impact generations to come. And with that being said, with 17 years of experience in this superintendent role, you've had to make good calls and you've had to make bad calls, and you go back and review and look at them. Now, tell us about your biggest accomplishments and the biggest goals that you had in a district superintendent role, and tell us about what are your goals and why you're stepping up into this role for the county superintendent.
I would say for and it's always a collective when you're talking about success, because not one person can be the only one who is making a district successful. There are hundreds of moving parts. And so when you talk about what are those successes, they are a collective body of an entire district and of the county as well, because we get support from the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. But I think when I look back, one of the things first and foremost is children feeling like they have an education and that they can go wherever they want to go. I came into the profession with 36 kids in my classroom and only 11 spoke English. That was very new for me. I didn't speak Spanish at the time. They were mostly Spanish speakers. And I thought, how can I reach these students? How can I learn their language? I learned that I didn't need to learn their language as much as I needed to be there for them, helping them learn our language that we were using in the classroom in many different ways. And so I think that one of the things that I'm most proud of is my first year of being an intern teacher and making sure that every student in my class, the 11 English speakers and the others that didn't speak English, left my classroom reading.
That's incredible.
It's a very proud moment for me, and I want to share that with the families that wrapped around, knowing that I was not a Spanish speaker, but I learned and they taught me.
That's incredible. You speak Spanish now?
I speak teacher Spanish.
Teacher
the things
Spanish.
that I need to know.
Enough to say, sit down, pay attention, close the door. All right.
Listen.
So as far as challenges that you are preparing for, what do you anticipate to be facing as a county superintendent?
In my work that I've been doing in our county, I know that the graduation rate is always an issue. We have, in Yucaipa-Calimesa, we have a great graduation rate, but it's not 100%. And we know when children don't graduate from high school, then the propensity for them to fall into either a low-wage job or to not have a future plan is not good for our county. It's not good for our state. It's not good for the economy. So raising the graduation rate and working with our students and listening to their voice is really important to me. We have a system of education that's been around for hundreds of years. And how do we need to morph and change to meet the needs of our learners today? because it is different today than it was when I graduated from high school. And working with our family units and communities to understand what that looks like and how it should be. I could tell you what I think, but listening to people and listening to the people that are in our educational system is most important, and that includes our students and our parents.
I love it. Now, knowing who Cali Binks is, I don't expect you to go negative against the challengers. I hear there are challengers in this election. Tell us about what makes you stand out.
Well, I think with the people that are also throwing their hat in the ring, so to speak, for this seat, I am the most prepared. I've had the most experience. I have a vision for our county and have served this county my whole career. And I believe that with the community work that I've done and the investments that I've made in people from the East End to the West End and then the High Desert, we have a group that are willing to pull in the same direction to take what Superintendent Alejandre has done and make it even better. And so with that, I think the team is behind me and we'll be able to do some great work.
So, and you named Mr. Ted Alejandre right now as the current county superintendent. And from the choices that he has actually stood out in public and supported one of the 4 people that are running. Who is that and why?
He's endorsed me, Cali Binks, for the next county superintendent. And I believe that he has done that because he understands with the experience that I have in the county, my familiarity with the county, the work that I've already demonstrated, that I will have the opportunity to move it to the next level.
I love it. Now, let's bring it down to our kitchen table kind of conversations. The everyday average person that's not involved in politics, they don't know what's going on. We just want our kids to go to school, learn how to read, write, speak, know basic math, basic English, enough of history so they don't repeat all the horrible things. What do you want to tell those people on why choose Cali Binks for county superintendent?
I would share with people sitting around their table, a fireside chat, whatever it is, I would share with them that for me, this is not about a title. It's not about a position. It's about caring for students and caring for families, caring for our communities, and making sure that we have the right person in place who's going to work collaboratively with the 33 districts in our county to make sure that they have everything they need to run their districts, to make sure that children are cared for. The resources need to be brought to this county. And then the bigger picture of the county is we want this county to thrive economically. We want this to be a place where when they're raising their children, that they know they can live here and make a good wage and be successful. And I would say that with the experience that I have and being a mom and a daughter and a wife, all of those pieces make me who I am, being a person of faith and bringing the opportunities to our communities about what all of that rolls into is really somebody who doesn't care about the title, but cares about the work that needs to get done.
I think of Cali Binks as among the formidable women that I know, like the Don Rouse, the county supervisor, like Jennifer Crawford, our interim city manager, like Michelle Riggs that we have at Crafton Hills College. I am a big believer in a government by the people, for the people. As you know, we came here as refugees from a different country, so I believe in the American dream, and I think I'm living and not only living, but thriving, and thank be to God and my mom and my grandmother are always praying for me. I was raised by a single mom. Had an older sister that thought she was mom and dad, and she works with me at the law firm now. With all that being said, what would you say to the people that have a concern of someone at your high level now that's going to impact so many people could get corrupted by the political arena and you're going to be bought by the special interests?
My only special interest is students. And really, as my career has unfolded over the years, I have not ever had any kind of temptation for that. And while people may have come my way that have said, this is my new business. Would you do business with me? If the business isn't good for kids, we're not going to do it. There's not any kind of unethical pieces that I can even think about that would occur in my tenure. There's just not any. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I got to start over.
That's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's all right.
That's okay. And I didn't answer some of your questions either earlier. I think I got on a tangent, but I'll let you.
We'll go back.
Okay.
We'll go back.
All right. Do you want to ask it again?
I'll ask it again.
Okay.
So, Kelly, you know, I'm from a place where we didn't believe in government. Everybody is corrupt where we come from in the Middle East, unfortunately. So we come to America where we believe in a government by the people, for the people. Now, there are good cops, good teachers, bad teachers. What do you have to say to the voters that think Cali Binks is in the pockets of special interests?
I think when voters are considering what they're looking for, they are looking for someone who's going to be trustworthy. They're looking for someone who is going to have the most high ethical standards, that they're going to look to someone who's not making deals across the county. And while we know sometimes those things happen in spaces, this is not something that my character nor my convictions would be allowing me to do. I am only for kids. Things that I do would be good for kids. And the special interest groups, if they're not interested in kids, they're not interested in the right special person to talk to. I'm not going to be someone that's going to go out and seek people to support me that don't have the right ethics. I want to be elected because I'm standing on my own merit. I don't want to take money from people or anything for my campaign that's a promise. I don't want to have to live up to that. I don't want to even consider that. And so my value that I bring stand on its own, and I don't need to be in anybody else's pocket.
I love that about you, that you're someone who answers to a higher power before you worry about answering to a judge or the law or the statutes, which in the past, I almost find it unbelievable to say, over 35 years of service in education?
Probably going through 1990.
Oh my goodness. So you started when you were 10 years old teaching as an intern. But over all of those years, I'm sure you have overcome challenges and your faith has guided you through, even if this is legal, it's just not the right way of doing it. And I think knowing who you are, knowing how you've been propelled into leadership roles, kind of like you did when we first talked in the Rotary meeting about, Chris, I don't know, I was ready to retire out of being a superintendent. And here is this falling on my lap, and here is God calling you and the community supporting you into this higher role where we can rely on you making the right decision for the right reasons all the time. And that is something that your record speaks for itself. Is that something that you can share about what accomplishments you've done, what calls you've made, even if they were legal, but you still went with the morally, ethically, spiritually higher value in answering some of these problems ahead of you?
You know, I could give you a few examples. I serve boards of education, and there have been different iterations of boards through my whole career, whether I was in the classroom, a principal, a director, an assistant superintendent, and then superintendent. There's boards of education that they are the 5 body members that vote on things that the staff brings forward. And I have been in those positions where I've made recommendations of what needs to happen. And when those things happened, and I take responsibility, even if it was a bad idea. At the time, I thought it was a great idea. Maybe if it turned out to be an idea that wasn't so great, I would take responsibility for that. But when there's something that comes up that doesn't feel right, and that's an intuition and a spirit that you feel, then I'm not a part of it. And I have been very fortunate to have some very strong, wonderful board members who have allowed me as a superintendent to speak into the fact that I don't think that's good for kids. It may look good, it may seem shiny, it might be a direction that we're being pushed to go, but this isn't good for our community. It's not good for our students. And so how do we work around that? And there have been those situations. I was a first-year superintendent during the 2008 recession. That was very difficult. I was brand new. And in Fontana Unified, we had to cut, at the time, $23 million of employees. I had parents that would call and say, my daughter just got hired from you. She's the best teacher. How come you're laying her off? So those decisions had to be done very ethically, and they had to be done the right way so that there was no favoritism. If I was laying off a board member's daughter, that's how it went, because that's how the system, I had to follow the proper protocol. When you look at the COVID days, they were very difficult. It was very hard on education, and there were rules that were coming from the state. And so how do you ethically work to serve your community, but also follow the law that you're supposed to follow. And that is a balance that you have to have, because it's a judgment piece on some of those areas. And so I always, as you know, I'm a prayer. I make sure that I am convicted in myself first of what is right and what is wrong. And then my recommendations come from the right heart. They're not self-serving. They're not coming from pressure. They're coming from a place where I am in charge and I need to make a decision, but I'm making it for the right reasons, in the right space, at the right time, and I have the right convictions.
It's interesting you share that, because God truly works his magic and his blessings in ways that we don't always understand. And the fact that you became a superintendent right before the recession, and then you were the superintendent during COVID, and these two districts were lucky and blessed to have a leader like you. Share with us the top 3 priorities that you've had as a superintendent that you've been able to accomplish.
I will share a few that are really near and dear to my heart. And one is making sure that all of our students and all of our families are served the same way. And so that looks different for each different group. So today I had the honor of watching our English as a second language learners' parents, the parents, not the students, but the parents who want to support their students. And so this is something that I've done in both school districts, where I've had the opportunity to provide the parents with the education they need to support their students and support their teachers. So today was a graduation ceremony where we had 4 different levels of parents graduate with the knowledge on how to use the internet, how to use email, how to check report cards. Now, how do you use spreadsheets? How do you use Google? And some of our parents have even opened up their own businesses now because they've learned so much of how to use technology that they never had before. So that teaching piece is not just for our students, it's also for our community and our parents. And so that is something that I think not only helps our city as a whole, our community as a whole, and our county as a whole, but it helps to teach them that they can grow and become something different in their lives and their roles. And so they now can give back to their students and make sure they're learning and they're modeling what that looks like. And so that's one of the things that I'm super proud of. It's called the Family Learning Center.
I love it.
And it's a 10-year anniversary. And
that's incredible.
really
and that's where
excited.
Lucia does all the CERT trainings now.
Yes.
Lucia Huddock, a
She
prior
does.
principal, great sister of ours, and we love her. And she grew into that role under your leadership as well at the Family Learning Center.
Yes,
So.
she has.
And then as far as goals and priorities that you have as county superintendent, what do you want to bring to the county?
I want to bring that home feeling that I've been able to do in a large district of 42,000 and then in a district now of 8,000. How do you bring that county-wide? I think that you bring parent voice to the table, you bring community voice to the table, educators' voice to the table, and then you and your families. There's such a rich thing that happens with synergy when you bring everyone to the table to say, here's our issues. We need to increase our graduation rate. We need our students to be reading by 3rd grade. We need to help close the achievement gaps. We need to take our students who come in from the foster care system or our special education students, and how do we get them where they are? I think that those are the things we need to make sure that we are serving the communities that represent this county. And they all look different, they all sound different, they all feel different. And so how do we meet everyone's needs? And school districts are doing that across our county, but the County Office of Education is the hub. And so supporting our superintendents, our teachers, our classified staff, our parents, and then our community leaders with understanding, how do we do better? And how do we bring more opportunities for success for our students? Raising a graduation rate and raising test scores is something that every teacher, every principal, every district office person, every superintendent, every parent, everyone wants that. But why is it so hard? One of the things that we don't do well in San Bernardino County, I believe, as a county whole, not just talking about the superintendent of schools, but talking about, connecting our vast regions, the high desert with the West End, with the East Valley. And what I see for a great opportunity is also sharing the things that we do extremely well. So every student and we have students of all different ethnicities, all different languages, and we have students that come in with all different experiences. So when you're looking at state standardized tests and you say we're failing, the graduation rate low, test scores are low, all of those things don't look good for our county. It's about telling the story. When I was a first grade teacher with my second language learners, they may not have left at the same level as some of my English only students, but they grew and I took them to a new level. We need to share the story of taking our kids from where they come from to where they move on to. Not this state saying you're low performing. It's a number, but it doesn't attach it to a person. And so when you look at the person and you look at their growth, whether they're in an English-only class, an ESL class, an English as a second language class, or a special education class, there are people working extremely hard to make sure they're growing. And so I would like to tell that story differently because we need to celebrate our successes.
I love that. And you earlier noted that not only you got us through COVID in our school district, not only you have the experience of a large district and a small district, but you are uniquely qualified because the school district for which you're the superintendent for now is a dual county school district. How fun was that during COVID dealing with San Bernardino and Riverside County?
I sat in lots of Department of Public Health meetings and had the opportunity to actually see the two different functions of the counties and how they work. And there was some very commonalities. There were some common things about the way Riverside County Department of Health and San Bernardino County Department of Health ran, but there were some vast differences. And so navigating both counties was interesting, and having the opportunity to participate in both county health departments as leads was really eye-opening. And so this dual county piece has been great for me because I have friends in Riverside County and colleagues that I continue to work with, as well, of course, in San Bernardino County. Now, Dr. Edwin Gomez is the county superintendent for Riverside, and he and I have worked together. He was a San Bernardino County district superintendent prior to. So, listening to what he's doing and how he's working and taking that collective knowledge to make sure that everything that I would bring to the table as a county superintendent is well informed by everybody's best practices, because we don't need to repeat anything, but we need to learn from one another. And so it's a great opportunity that we had during COVID. I didn't know it then, but now I know I can capitalize on that and those relationships that were built.
And I think that's why I say God knows what he's doing with people like you, when he puts you in the right time, in the right place to serve the right communities and the right people. Now, stepping into the county superintendent role, how many employees and how many students will be impacted by your decisions?
Well, when you take the county office, there's a host of employees there. But when you stretch it out, I don't even know the number of employees because each district has a different amount. So I may have had 4,000 employees in Fontana. In Yucaipa, 1,200 employees. Students across the county, 400,000.
That's incredible. And if you were to say something as your pitch for this campaign, and I know you're doing well, and God willing, people will be smart enough and informed enough, not smart or not smart, I think informed. If the people that are not informed, what would you say to them to gain their vote?
I would tell the voters that I am not in this for any political reasons. It's not a place where politics belong. I think that I value families, I value parents, I value community. That's where decisions are made together so that we can work as a unit to make sure that we're giving our students the best education for their life, for success. I would tell the voters that they can trust me. I am just so grateful for the experiences. This county has formed me. They have given me the opportunities to be a superintendent for 17 years. And with that, I feel like I owe them to support them in their journeys, raising their children and making sure that this county of San Bernardino is the best county it can be. And that's supporting our people in the county offices big and what I call the county superintendent office a little smaller, but to give them hope for their students in our school system.
And we can't talk about education and election and politics and education without mentioning unions. So teacher unions are something that people have good things to say about, bad things to say about. You have uniquely been able to navigate and be able to use the unions to the advantage of the children, not to your advantage, but also navigate to help and support Start Charter School. And that's how I ended up in Yucaipa. And you and I also met through Mike Gordon, that has started Inland Leaders Charter School, and your support to that independent charter school that's not dependent to the school district. But then you were against the high school, and you spoke up about the things that make sense for the community. So share a little bit about the people that have concern of this teachers union having an influence on your decisions versus the kids' interest.
So when we talk about our unions, I don't think of them as unions. I think of them as our people. So we have different unions in our districts. I have CSEA and YCEA, and those are our teachers in our classified unions. And in Fontana, it was the Fontana Teachers Association and the Steelworkers. And so each district has a little bit of a different nuance of who their union people are and what unions they belong to. But they're our people. And so when I work with them, I don't see them as an enemy. I see them as our people. And I need to listen to our people, just like I want to listen to our parents and our community members to make sure we're doing the right things. So the unions have a place in making sure that we're doing the right things for people in the workplace. That's how unions got started. I think that back in the day, there was management years ago when unions just started to percolate in our country, and they probably had their rights that needed to be looked at because we wanted to make sure that we treat people the right way. So for me, looking at the union piece is they're my people that I work with every day. They're my employees. And yes, we go to the bargaining table and we work on health benefits and salary and things like that. But really, we're all in it for the right reasons. We're all in it for the benefit of kids. And when I came to Yucaipa Calimesa and had the opportunity to serve here, one of the things the Board of Education said is we have a dependent charter here and an independent charter here, and we want you to meet Mike Gordon, who is the person who leads Inland Leaders Charter School, and get to know him. And my thought was, why wouldn't I get to know him? He is a part of the community that I'm serving as well. And so that relationship has flourished and maintained over the years, and we've been able to serve together. We work on different projects and things that create that synergy between us and them. And then we have a job to do as well as oversight. So we oversee the dependent charter and the independent charter, which is Inland Leaders. So when there is something that we have oversight of, we make sure it's done appropriately and it is to the letter of the law. And that's really what happened with the high school charter. The high school charter was written well, but there were some pieces of it that didn't quite meet the letter of the law. So that petition was denied, and it was challenged at the county level, and it was denied for that piece to have been fixed. And so that had to do with a couple different things, but I have the knowledge that Mike is working again on that charter petition, and I am absolutely confident that he has fixed that and will bring that back.
And he's always been one of your biggest fans. Mike loves you and speaks very well of you. And I worked for Inland Leaders, and I went to the county Board of Education meeting that I spoke, and I said, I'm like between my brother and my sister because I love both of you. With that being said, the biggest challenge that you anticipate facing during this election, what would that challenge be?
I think the challenge has been, and it's because I want to do due diligence with my district and the campaign at the same time. I think it's getting to all the places that I need to be to meet all the people that I can meet so that I can share my heart. I know you go into a voting booth or you do your mail-in ballot and you think, who are these people? And so my challenge is I'm a one-on-one type person. I want to meet people where they're at, learn to know their story, And it's hard for me in a circumstance where I can't possibly meet everyone across the county. But I think that the opportunities like this, which I'm so grateful for, Chris, I appreciate it so much, is going to help me to be able to get to where I need to be to support our county. I feel confident in the fact that I am the best qualified for the position, and my heart tells me that this is a calling. And while I grieve leaving Yucaipa Calimesa, just like I grieved leaving Fontana, I believe that what I will find joy in is helping to ensure all of our county school districts and our county as a whole is successful for kids.
I love that you say that as a challenge, because I knew that about you. I know you're a handshake, and you're not a handshake, you're a hugger. You love hugging people, you love being with people. And I wanted to do my part, knowing who you are and how incredibly humble and big-hearted you are. I wanted to get the reach expanded to the people so they get to know who Cali Binks is. With that being said, the final thoughts. What else do you want to share that you haven't been able to share with us today?
I want to share that this is an exciting time for us in education. I think that there's so much career technical education going on. There's so many opportunities that we need to take them. And I want to be the person to help lead our school districts and our county into taking the opportunities that are before us. There's a lot of opportunity for success for our county. And I think that when you think about the development that's going on and the businesses that we're attracting, that whole economic system, which is something that we may not associate with education, but we have to, because we are preparing our future with our students and our children. And as we prepare their future, we want them to have this place to go to where they live so that they can have a family or do what they want to do, whatever they're called to do. And so I am excited to be a part of that. I think that it's imperative that we all get involved. I want to take this minute to just say, be involved. Just be involved in your schools, be involved with your community. When we all play a part that makes something better, then it becomes a beautiful thing.
I love it. And Cali Binks, I'm one of the witnesses that has watched you and admired you for the last over a decade now, I think going on 11 or 12 years. I can trust my children with all the decisions you've made. We want to make sure that people are going to get out and vote for you. And Cali for California, now that we know that. Cali Binks for the county superintendent. And having watched all of the efforts you've put and all of the work that you've done, when we have people that comes from a family that moves from the Middle East and they don't speak English, you're always my first phone call, and you connect them to somebody and you make things happen. When there are documents that need to be translated or matriculated, if someone comes here with a degree, you found one of our friends' mom a job at the school district, and she's a very talented young lady. It's just language barriers, cultural barriers, and you helped her get into a program to equip her with the tools and get her into the right training so she can feel fulfilled and contribute into the community. With that being said, the invitation for people to vote. What do you want to say to the voters?
I would ask the voters to vote for me so that I can support them in return with their voices and what they want for their children or their communities. And as a citizen in San Bernardino County, I'm a good listener, and I would ask for them to hold me to that and make sure that I'm accountable to them when I get their vote.
I love it. So thank you so much, Cali, for joining me today on this podcast where we highlight community service. I don't know anyone more representative of community service, of a servant leader, of a heart bigger than anybody else that I know, that you give back to the community. And when we go out to vote, everybody, for the county superintendent for the San Bernardino County, remember the name Cali Binks. Again, that's for California. She's the right choice for our kids. She's the right choice for our school district. And now she's the right choice for the county. So once again, Cali, we wish you the best. I will always be your brother. I'll look forward to your success in every step that you take in life.
Thank you, Chris. I sure appreciate you, and I appreciate the time here.
Thank you.